So you understand the ant basics now. So let's get at construction basics. We will discuss construction as a whole at first, as though you had everything unlocked. Later I will tell you what order you might want to unlock construction items. Also, this section is large and therefore it may well be split up into multiple videos. So you'll be starting by getting your ant and beginning to collect cordium. I would recommend that the moment you are in a safe spot and that you have enough cordium to purchase a silo, you deploy your ant and do just that. Then continue to collect cordium. If you are building with others, you should reconsider what you purchase since you're working as part of a team. If you might be giving the cordium to someone else's base, it's your call if you purchase anything at all. The idea is twofold. If you are attacked and you lose your ant, you would lose all the cordium in it. However, whatever you purchased should remain in your inventory even if you get killed. Therefore, it is an excellent safeguard to purchase something useful and something you will be immediately ready to place once you arrive at your building site. Typically, the first thing you should build is a silo, so there's a good spot to start. However, first we must discuss how to place structures. Placement of structures. First, hold any structure in your hand. Left click, right click. That is how you turn it. Hold down both left click and right click and move the mouse backwards and forwards. That is how you zoom it. Now, while doing either of the aforementioned, hold down the control key and you will notice that the movements of zoom and spin are dramatically reduced. Those controls are essential for base builders. You do not want to forget these. The green and the blue dots. Green have to be above ground, blue must be below. There are a number of difficult to build locations where you will have to play with the placement for a moment or two in order to find a valid position for placement. Similarly, getting buildings to touch, such as walls, can be difficult or impossible. Trees, rocks, buildings, and such can make placement tricky, as the game will say your placement collides with an existing structure, and you will have to figure out how to work around that. There is a little catch here you will run into sooner or later while placing structures. The ground is a tricky definition in Planetside. Most of the terrain you can build on, however, there are certain types of terrain that don't register for buildings as existing, and others that your building cannot touch. For example, you may see the right type of terrain on the surface, but there will be the wrong type of terrain below the surface. Or you could see the wrong type of terrain on the surface with the right kind of terrain close enough to the surface that you can build on it. There are reasons for this, but you'd have to talk to the programmers to find out, and let me know if you find out why. But this issue doesn't come up too terribly often unless you're building in the mountains. In order to place a structure, you also need to have direct line of sight with the middle of the structure. Otherwise, it will simply state you do not have direct line of sight and will not allow you to construct in what might otherwise be a perfectly fine location. Unfortunately, while placing a structure, only you can see the outline of the structure, and as a result, people will often get in the way. Likewise, they may lay down mines, turrets, or ammunition. All these things will not allow a structure to be placed. Therefore, you have to get rid of them if you want to build there. Also, while you can place a structure within a structure, if it fits, you cannot build a structure that will encapsulate an existing structure. While in the ant or standing with a structure in your hand, the mini-map will change. The large red circles are areas that you cannot build or deploy in. Also, when building next to a no build zone, but just outside of it, there's often a discrepancy between the location of the boundary of the zone on the mini-maps and the actual location on the map. although it generally isn't that much of a difference. While holding a construction object, it may create on the ground a visible line which indicates areas of coverage or no build due to proximity to a certain structure type. This means while placing things like some modules or turrets, there may appear a red area in which you cannot construct because of the existence of another structure in the area that you cannot build in the same area of. This function is a little buggy. You don't see the circle when placing silos or ion cannon, for example, but they know the other structures are there and won't let you place them within the proximity of certain structure types. Structures may become highlighted in green like a turret tower while placing an AI module. This is showing that placement of this module in this location will cover that structure. Silos hold up to 50,000 cordium. They have a radius in which no other silos can be constructed and a radius that they supply to. Building of a silo while a previous one still exists somewhere will result in the deconstruction of the original. However, if you purchase another silo, the original will not deconstruct until after you place the new one. Silos, when repaired by a repair module, are virtually indestructible. Silos can be locked by a quick key so that only you or your group or your faction can have access to it. It is only the owner who can make these changes. By default, it is set to faction-wide. Likewise, vehicle spawns and turrets that you build can also be locked. And since enemies can hack vehicle terminals, it is a good idea to do just that if they are not thoroughly guarded. Only the owner of those structures can unlock them. If the silo goes down or runs out of cordium, everything within its range will lose power and be considerably easier to destroy. So with that in mind, a silo with cordium in it is the single most important part of any base. I recommend you never let the cordium drop below 2,000 for any base and lock it when you get that low. A deconstruction tool is sold for free at any silo or deploy ant. This tool will allow you to deconstruct anything within the radius of your silo or your team silo, with one exception. If you have an active hive, you cannot deconstruct it, and even if you take down the silo, the hive will continue running. I suggest you look up the rules on hives to better understand them. The tool will also disappear from your inventory after respawning, so you will have to repurchase it. It is a common glitch in the game that buildings cannot be it is a common glitch in the game that a building for no apparent reason cannot be deconstructed. This does periodically happen. It's not too terribly frequent, but eventually you will run into it. Also, the location at which you deconstruct structures is different for each structure, and it is possible for some structures to place them so far into the ground that you cannot deconstruct them. If you do not fully understand hives, do not build them. It is likely you will not only hurt your team, but you will help the enemy team. The very pinnacle of stupidity is the player who builds a silo, then a hive, and sometimes that's it. Unfortunately, this happens all too often. Hives are a thing that should not be constructed except within a properly fortified and manned base. Also, if you're going to build a hive, there is a battle rank requirement, and our team must have hives available. If no hives are available, someone on our team has to take out an enemy hive, or wait for one to become neutral. A hive once gained for our team begins a timer in which only your team can build that hive. But if the timer expires, that hive allotment becomes neutral and any team can build one. Also, do not be the guy that shows up at someone else's base and puts up a hive without having been asked by the silo owner. There are a mess of reasons that they might not want the hive constructed, and it is their base after all. On that note, the other day I was talking with Chevy Chase. He was doing some base building on here. When somebody decided to show up and build a hive in his base when he wasn't looking, in a bad place and with no structural shield modules protecting it, and an infiltrator quickly overloaded it and destroyed the entire base. At the time, I was recording. So here's what he had to say about you, whoever you were that did that.
This isn't the biggest bag over the head punch in the face I ever got. God damn it! Straight in the eye. I don't want to tell him what a cheap, lying, no good, rotten, four-flushing, low-life, snake-licking, dirt-eating, inbred, overstuffed, ignorant, blood-sucking, dog-kissing, brainless, dickless, hopeless, heartless, fat-ass, bug-eyed, stiff-legged, spotty-lipped, worm-headed sack of monkey shit he is. Hallelujah! Holy shit! Where's the Tylenol?
Moving right along, if you look at your large map and drag your mouse over a territory, you will see a window pop up. The window will tell you things like population in a territory. However, in the bottom of that window, it will tell you your hive efficiency. This is the rate of efficiency that a hive constructed in that area by your team would start at. Hives become more powerful over time. The more powerful a hive is, the quicker they will generate victory points for your team. However, they generate them quite slowly, even at high efficiency, and the loss of a hive means an opportunity for the enemy team to build one of their own and earn victory points. In short, if you build a hive in a crappy base, it is unlikely your base will do our team much good, but you will have given the enemy the opportunity to earn more victory points. And if they are better at base building than you, they could win the game because you did something stupid. Lastly, an active hive may become inactive if a more efficient hive is built and available to turn on. This may take a minute or two, but it can and does happen. Learn to use local chat. Squad chat, platoon chat, and text in the game. Communication in base building is key for teamwork. You may also find it useful to take note of how to turn down or up the voice of anyone speaking.